AITA for not spending my son's college fund on a pre-booked wedding? My name is Andrew. I am 42, and I work as a claims adjuster for a regional insurance company, which means I spend most of my weekdays listening to people explain disasters they swear were nobody's fault. Outside of work, my life is quieter than people expect. I live in a small 2-bedroom townhouse in suburban Pennsylvania, not far from the Lehigh Valley, with my 16-year-old son, Jonah. Most nights are frozen pizza, homework at the kitchen island, and me pretending I understand his AP chemistry problems. The family part is where things get complicated. My mom died when I was in college, and my dad, Martin, remarried a woman named Denise about 12 years ago. Denise has a daughter, Tessa, who is 28 now. For years, I tried to treat them like family, even when it felt like I was the only one doing the work. I showed up to birthdays, fixed garage shelves, brought sides to Thanksgiving, and kept my mouth shut when Denise made little comments about how Jonah and I were too independent for our own good. The one thing I never treated as family property was Jonah's college fund. I started that account after my divorce, when Jonah was still small enough to fall asleep with one sock on and a plastic dinosaur in his fist. It was a $529 plan, nothing glamorous. At first, I put in $25 here, $50 there. When overtime came through, I added more. When my tax refund hit, a chunk went in before I let myself buy anything else. I drove used cars, skipped vacations, packed lunch until I got sick of turkey sandwiches, and kept receipts in an old shoebox in the garage because budgeting felt safer when I could physically see where the money went. Every payday, after the mortgage, utilities, groceries, and whatever school fee had appeared out of nowhere, I checked the 529 account. Not because I was rich, because I was careful. That account was never about making Jonah spoiled. It was about giving him one door I never had. Jonah never asked for much. He worked part-time shelving books at the library, mostly so he could pay for his own gas when he got his license. He filled out scholarship applications at the kitchen island on a laptop with a cracked charger he had to bend just right. There was always a high school robotics fundraiser flyer stuck to our fridge with a magnet shaped like a crab from a beach trip we took years ago. He wanted engineering, badly, but he tried to act casual about it, like wanting something too much might make it disappear. When he was 11, he overheard me talking to the electric company after a surprise bill and offered to skip a school field trip to Harrisburg. He had the permission slip folded in his backpack for 3 days before he showed me. "It is okay," he said. "I don't really care about the museum." He absolutely cared about the museum. That night, I paid the field trip fee online and transferred $10 less to the college fund. My son had been careful with my money since he was 11. That was why I was careful with his future. Denise loved the word family. She used it constantly, usually when she wanted labor, money, attendance, or silence. At holidays, she would clap her hands and say, "Family, everyone in the dining room," like she was directing a magazine shoot. But when the photos came out, Jonah was always at the edge, half behind someone's shoulder, while Tessa stood in the center beside my dad. One Thanksgiving, Denise posted a picture with the caption, "So grateful for my whole crew," and cropped Jonah's elbow out of the frame. I told myself it was accidental. I told myself a lot of things were accidental. Dad was not cruel. That was part of the problem. Cruel would have been easier to name. He was tired. He liked quiet. He liked his coffee black and his evenings peaceful. When Denise got upset, he looked for the fastest route back to calm, and that route often went straight through me. "You know how Denise gets," he would say. Or, "Don't make this bigger than it is." Or the one that made my jaw ache. "Can you just keep the peace?" For years I did. I kept peace by swallowing little insults, showing up anyway, and pretending it didn't hurt when Jonah asked in the car, "Do they not like us? Or are they just weird?" I would say, "They're just different," which was the kind of answer parents give when the truth is too ugly for a kid. The dinner where everything changed happened at a casual Italian chain restaurant off Route 22, the kind with fake grapevines over the booths and portions big enough to become lunch the next day. Denise had picked it because Tessa loved their chicken marsala. Dad sat at one end of the table, Denise beside him, Tessa across from me, and two of Denise's cousins squeezed in near the aisle. Jonah was not there. He had a robotics meeting and then a shift at the library. I remember being relieved he was missing it even before I knew what it was. Denise arrived with a store-bought cheesecake in a plastic dome, even though the restaurant served dessert. She set it on the table like a peace offering. I thought we could all have something sweet after dinner, she said. Tessa looked polished as usual, with curled hair, a cream sweater, and a diamond ring that caught the overhead light every time she moved her hand. She was engaged to a guy named Brandon, whose family owned a landscaping company and seemed nice in the brief, awkward way future in-laws are nice when they don't know what they are walking into. Dinner started normally. Dad asked about work. I told him about a roof claim where the homeowner insisted a raccoon had opened a skylight. Denise laughed too loudly. Tessa pushed mushrooms around her plate. Then Denise put her fork down and said, "Andrew, we need to talk about helping Tessa." The table went quiet in that practiced family way, where everyone pretended they had not been waiting for the subject. I wiped my mouth with my napkin. "Helping how?" Denise folded her hands. "She is in a bit of a financial emergency. It is temporary, but there is a deadline." Tessa stared at her water glass. Dad cleared his throat. "We wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't serious." "What is the emergency?" I asked. Denise gave me a soft smile, the kind she used when she wanted to sound patient. A few things came together at once. Some business obligations, a friend who didn't follow through, and now the wedding venue is involved. It is complicated. "How much?" She glanced at Dad. He looked down at his plate. "We don't need to get into every number at dinner," Denise said. "The point is, you are in the best position to help." A small warning bell rang in my head. "Meaning what?" She tilted her head. "Andrew, Jonah's college money is just sitting there." I felt my face go still. One of the cousins suddenly became fascinated by her breadstick. Denise continued, "No one is saying Jonah doesn't matter. We are saying Tessa's situation is immediate. Jonah has options. Loans, scholarships, community college for the first 2 years like normal kids. Tessa has a deadline." That was the line. Community college was not the insult. I have handled claims from professors, electricians, nurses, contractors, and small business owners who started at community college and built great lives. The insult was Denise deciding my son's choices were negotiable because her daughter's wedding venue was not. I looked at Tessa. "Is that what this is about? A venue?" Tessa's cheeks went pink. "It is not just that." "Then explain it." Dad leaned forward. "Andrew, let's not interrogate her." "I am not interrogating her. I am asking what I am being asked to fund." Denise's smile thinned. "We are not asking you to ruin Jonah's life. We are asking you to be realistic. Family helps family." I took a slow sip of water because if I spoke immediately, I knew my voice would shake. I had spent half my career listening to people hide responsibility behind foggy words. Sudden issue. Temporary situation. Unexpected complication. Nobody gave exact numbers when they knew exact numbers made them look bad. "I am sorry Tessa is in a serious situation," I said. "But Jonah's college fund is not an emergency fund for adults." Denise blinked like I had slapped her. Dad sighed. "Nobody said it like that." "I did," I said, "because that is what it is." Tessa finally looked at me. "I thought you would understand. You always figure things out. That doesn't mean I exist to fix what you hide." Her eyes filled, but no tears fell. Denise reached over and touched her arm. "Andrew," Denise said quietly, which somehow felt more public than shouting. "This is a painful time for your sister." "Stepsister," I said before I could stop myself. Dad's face tightened. "That was unnecessary." Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. I just knew nobody called Jonah Tessa's nephew unless they wanted something from me. The rest of dinner dragged. Denise cut the cheesecake herself with the restaurant's borrowed knife, serving slices nobody really wanted. Dad tried to talk about the Eagles. Tessa checked her phone every 2 minutes. I paid for my meal, left cash for the tip, and drove home with leftover lasagna on the passenger seat and my hands tied around the wheel. When I walked in, Jonah was at the kitchen island with his laptop open, a scholarship essay on the screen, and a bowl of cereal beside him. His hoodie sleeves were pushed up, and there was a smear of pencil lead on his wrist. "How was dinner?" he asked. "Long," I said. He looked at the takeout container. "Good Long or Denise Long?" I laughed once, but it had no humor in it. "Denise Long." He nodded like that explained everything and went back to typing. I did not tell him that night. I washed the dishes, checked the deadbolt, and opened the 529 account after he went upstairs. The balance sat there in clean numbers, years of sacrifice compressed into a screen. I changed nothing yet. I just looked at it and let myself feel the anger I had hidden at dinner. The next morning, The family group text started. Denise wrote, "Thank you everyone for a thoughtful dinner last night. Hard conversations are never easy, but family unity matters." She added a heart emoji. Her cousin Patty replied, "Praying for all involved." She sent 2 heart emojis. Dad added, "Let's all stay calm and kind." I did not respond. At 10:14 a.m., Denise texted me privately, "I hope you will reconsider once emotions settle. Some people forget who showed up for them when they were young." I stared at that one for a while. Denise had not shown up for me when I was young. She met my father when I was 30, but she had a gift for making herself the injured party in rooms she entered late. I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Then I wrote, "My answer is no. Please don't bring up Jonah's college fund again." She sent back, "I hear you. I just hope Jonah grows up with more compassion." I put the phone face down on my desk and spent the next 2 hours inspecting water damage in a split level where a dishwasher had leaked under laminate flooring. The homeowner kept saying, "We didn't know it was that bad," and I had to stop myself from laughing. Over the next week, the pressure became polite, then pointed, then ugly. At first, it was vague messages in the group chat. Denise wrote, "Sometimes sacrifice is how children learn what family means." Patty added, "I don't know the whole story, but I hope everyone remembers money comes and goes. Family is forever." A cousin I had met 2 times chimed in, "College kids can work too. Just saying." Then Dad called me on a Thursday night while I was making grilled cheese sandwiches. I answered because I still answered when my father called. "Hey," I said, pressing the spatula down too hard. "You busy?" "Making dinner. This won't take long." He exhaled. "Andrew, you are embarrassing the family." I turned off the burner. "How?" Denise feels humiliated. Tessa is beside herself. People are asking questions. People are asking questions because Denise keeps bringing it up. She is scared. You know how she gets when she feels cornered. Then stop helping her corner me. Silence. In the background, Jonah called. "Is one of those mine?" "Yeah," I called back. Into the phone, I said, "Dad, this is not complicated. I am not using Jonah's college fund." "You have always been better with money," he said. "That is all. You plan. You save." Tessa didn't have the same advantages. I looked around my townhouse kitchen, at the cracked tile near the dishwasher, at the stack of grocery coupons under a magnet, at Jonah's robotics flyer curling at one corner. Better with money doesn't mean I become everyone else's insurance policy. Nobody is saying that. You are. Denise is. Tessa is. His voice dropped. Be the bigger person. Help quietly. This doesn't need to become a thing. That hurt more than Denise's comment. He was not asking whether it was right. He was asking me to make it disappear. "My son's future is not less real because your deadline is closer," I said. "Andrew," he started to say. "Dinner is burning," I interrupted. "I have to go." I hung up before he could answer. My hands were shaking, so I scraped the grilled cheese into the trash and made another one. 2 days later, Tessa sent me a Venmo request. It was for $38,000. The note said, "Temporary family bridge loan," with a heart emoji. I stared at it so long the screen dimmed. "Temporary," I muttered. "For 38 grand. Jonah was in the living room, half watching a documentary and half doing calculus homework. What? Nothing. Spam. It wasn't spam. It was a number. Finally, a real one. And it told me 2 things. First, they had known exactly what they wanted. Second, they expected compliance, not discussion. I declined the request and took a screenshot before it disappeared from my immediate view. Then I made a folder on my laptop named Denise Money Issue, which felt dramatic and ridiculous, but I did it anyway. I saved the Venmo screenshot, the texts, and a PDF of the group chat. The next day, my Aunt Marcy called. Marcy was my mother's younger sister, 55, sharp as a tack, and allergic to nonsense. She lived outside Allentown and worked in a dentist's office where, according to her, grown men were braver about tax audits than cleanings. She had never warmed to Denise, but she kept her opinions measured and less asked. That day, she did not bother measuring. "Honey," she said, "why am I hearing you agreed to pay for Tessa and then changed your mind?" I was sitting in my car outside a customer's house, holding a clipboard and a lukewarm coffee. "What?" Denise told people this was already handled. "Weeks ago. I heard it from Patty, and your Uncle Ray heard it from somebody at church. They said Andrew was taking care of it because he had money set aside." My stomach went cold. I never agreed to anything. I didn't even know there was a situation until dinner. Marcy was quiet for a beat. I wondered. It didn't sound like you. What exactly did she say? That you had offered to help once the venue deadline got close, and that she didn't want to pressure you before you had time to move funds around. Move funds around. The phrase landed like a weight. She used those words? According to Patty, yes. I closed my eyes. A truck rumbled past. Somewhere nearby, a dog barked like it had been personally betrayed. Marcy's voice softened. Andrew, people call it family when they want access. Watch what they call it when you say no. After we hung up, I sat in the car for 5 minutes and replayed the last few months in my head. Denise asking over Labor Day whether Jonah was still thinking engineering because those programs were expensive. Denise asking at Christmas whether $529 money could be used for housing or only tuition. Denise saying, while slicing pie, "It is wonderful you were able to save so much. Some parents never get that chance." At the time, I thought she was making conversation. Annoying conversation, but conversation. That afternoon, I searched my emails and texts. There it was, a pattern I had been too tired or too hopeful to notice. Denise had asked if Jonah's college account locked up the money until he was 18. She had asked if grandparents could contribute to those plans too, just out of curiosity. She had mentioned reading something about penalties if money was used for non-school expenses and asked if that was true for all accounts. She even told me I must feel lucky to have that cushion. She had not been making conversation. She had been pricing out my son's future. The twist came from my father, accidentally. On Monday morning, he forwarded me an email with the subject line, "Please reconsider before Saturday." His message at the top said, "Andrew, just read this and try to understand how stressed Denise is." He must not have realized the whole chain was underneath. I opened it in my office, expecting another plea. Instead, I found Denise writing to Dad, Tessa, and someone named Carol, who turned out to be Brandon's mother. Denise wrote, "Once Andrew moves the college money, we can stop the cancellation. I know he is resistant, but Martin believes he will come around if he understands the consequences." Tessa replied, "The venue needs the payment by Saturday or they release the weekend. Brandon can't know about the full business debt right now. He will freak." Carol chimed in, "Denise, I was under the impression Andrew had already agreed to contribute. We need honesty before our family puts any more money toward this." Denise answered, "He has always been cautious, but he knows family obligations matter. The issue is timing." I read the chain 3 times. Then I printed it, not because I needed paper, but because some things feel less deniable when they are sitting in your hand. The emergency was not medical. It was not rent. It was not groceries, a hospital bill, or a lawsuit from some terrible accident. Denise had co-signed private loans and credit lines for Tessa's boutique event business, the one Tessa had described online as curating luxury experiences for modern celebrations. The business had failed quietly. Tessa had hidden part of the debt from Brandon. Denise had hidden her co-signing from Dad until collection calls started coming to the house. And the wedding venue, a renovated barn with string lights and a weekend package that cost more than my first car, was about to cancel if they did not pay another chunk immediately. $38,000. I called Carol from the number in the email chain. It was awkward, but awkward had already broken into my house and put its feet on the coffee table. "Mrs. Palmer? This is Andrew, Martin's son." There was a pause. "Oh, Andrew." The way she said my name told me she had been waiting for me to become a check. "I received an email chain this morning," I said. "I think I need to clarify something. I have never agreed to fund any part of Tessa's wedding, business debt, or venue payment." Another pause, longer this time. "Denise told us you had offered to help from a college account," she said carefully. "That was never true. That account is for my son. It is not available. It never was." Carol let out a slow breath. "I appreciate you telling me. Brandon has been told the business debt was minor." "I am sorry," I said. "I think you were told something that was never true." She sounded tired when she answered. Apparently we all were. After that call, I did not confront anyone. That surprised me. The younger version of me would have called Dad immediately and demanded answers. But the older version, the claims adjuster version, knew what people did when cornered. They denied, minimized, reframed, and made you argue until the facts got blurry. So I made things clean. First, I changed every password connected to my finances. Bank. Email. 529 account. Retirement account. Credit cards. I enabled two-factor authentication where I had lazily put it off. I called the 529 plan administrator and confirmed the authorized users. Only me. No one else had access. No one else ever had. Then I made an appointment with an attorney named Linda Park, whose office was in a converted brick building near the county courthouse. The carpet looked older than Jonah. The printer hummed constantly behind the receptionist's desk, and a woman with silver glasses asked if I wanted water before I had even sat down. Linda was 46, blunt, and calm in a way that made me trust her immediately. I gave her the texts, the Venmo request, and the email chain. She read everything without making the sympathetic noises people make when they want you to know they are reacting. Finally, she said, "You don't need a dramatic response. You need a clean one. Can they touch the account? Not from what you were showing me. You are the account owner. Jonah is the beneficiary. Family pressure is not a legal obligation." I laughed a little, mostly from nerves. "Could you put that on a billboard?" She almost smiled. "Document every communication. Do not discuss money verbally if you can avoid it. If you send a boundary, send it once, clearly. People who rely on pressure hate paper trails." She helped me draft a short message. Not angry, not pleading, just clear. I did not send it yet. That night, Jonah found out enough to ask. He was at the kitchen island, scholarship tabs open, and a pile of cheaper college brochures beside him. I noticed them while I was putting away groceries. Community colleges, commuter options, and schools with programs that were fine, but not what he had been talking about for 2 years. "Where did these come from?" I asked. He shrugged too casually. "Guidance office. Just looking." "Jonah." He kept his eyes on the laptop. "Dad, is my college money causing problems?" I set the milk down. "No. I heard you on the phone with Grandpa. And Aunt Marcy called while you were in the garage." I didn't answer, but I saw the preview. I sat across from him. For a second, he looked very young, all elbows and worry, trying to make himself smaller so life would be easier for me. "Listen to me," I said. "Adults made adult problems. You don't shrink your future to make them comfortable." His mouth tightened. "I can just apply somewhere cheaper. I don't want everyone fighting because of me. They are not fighting because of you. They are fighting because somebody decided your future was easier to take than telling the truth. That is not on you." He looked down at his hands. "I don't even need some fancy school. Maybe not. Maybe you choose a state school because it is smart. Maybe you get scholarships. Maybe you start somewhere and transfer because it fits your plan. All of that is fine if it is your choice. But you are not giving up choices because grown-ups lied." He nodded, but his eyes were wet. I reached across the island and tapped the cracked laptop charger. "Also, when this is over, we are replacing that safety hazard." That got half a smile out of him. Before the final blow-up, I gave Dad one last chance. Not Denise. Not Tessa. Dad. I asked him to meet me for coffee at a diner halfway between our houses. He arrived 10 minutes late, wearing the same brown jacket he had worn my entire adult life. He looked older than 68 that morning. We sat in a booth near the window. A waitress poured coffee without asking and called us both honey. I slid a printed copy of the email chain across the table. Dad looked at it, but did not pick it up. "Did you know Denise was telling people I agreed to help?" I asked. He rubbed his forehead. "Andrew," he began. "Yes or no?" I interrupted. He stared out the window at the parking lot. I knew she was trying to keep everyone calm. That wasn't my question. He swallowed. "She may have implied things were under control. With my money. With the possibility of your help." I leaned back. "You didn't misunderstand me. You gambled that I would be too embarrassed to say no." His face crumpled for a second, but then the old tiredness came back over it like a curtain. "I thought once you saw how bad it was, you would come around." "You mean once I was trapped?" "No, Dad." He looked at me then, and I saw the answer clearly. He had not wanted to hurt me. He had just been willing to let it happen if it made his house quieter. "Jonah is your grandson," I said. "I know that." "Do you?" "Because you sat there while Denise suggested taking his college money for Tessa's wedding venue. You backed her up. The venue is only part of it. There are debts. Denise is on the hook. If this collapses, it affects our household too." There it was. The real center of it. Not family unity. Not sacrifice. His comfort. His house. His peace. "You should have told me the truth," I said. He whispered. "I didn't know how." I left money for both coffees and stood up. That has been the problem for a long time. Denise organized the family meeting 3 days later. She did not call it a meeting. She called it a small dinner so everyone can speak honestly. It was at their house, the larger split level she kept staged for company, with matching seasonal wreaths on the doors and framed photos on the walls. Tessa and Dad were in most of them. Jonah and I appeared in two, both from holidays, and both near the edge. I went alone. Jonah stayed home, with takeout money and instructions not to answer unknown numbers. When I arrived, Denise had put out baked ziti, salad, garlic bread, and the same store-bought cheesecake. Hospitality is camouflage. Patty was there, along with Uncle Ray, two of Denise's cousins, Tessa, Brandon, Carol, Dad, and a few others who had apparently earned front-row seats to my shaming. Denise hugged me at the door. I did not hug her back so much as allow the contact to happen. "I am glad you came," she murmured. "I am sure." Her eyes flicked to the folder in my hand. "What is that?" "Paper." She looked annoyed, but recovered quickly. "Well, come in. We just want everyone to speak honestly." For 20 minutes, people ate like this was normal. Forks scraped plates. Someone complimented the ziti. Brandon looked confused and tense. Tessa looked like she might bolt. Dad sat in his recliner instead of at the table, which told me he wanted to look separate from whatever was about to happen. Finally, Denise stood near the fireplace with a glass of iced tea in her hand. "I know there has been tension," she began. "I don't want this family divided over money. Tessa is facing a temporary crisis, and some people have misunderstood what was being asked." I opened the folder on my lap. Denise continued, "Andrew has always been private about finances, and we respect that. But when one member of a family has resources and another is struggling financially, there has to be compassion." Patty nodded. "That is all anyone is saying." I stood up. The room shifted. Not dramatically, just enough. People love confrontation until the quiet person brings documents. "Before anyone asks me to honor a promise," I said, "I want someone to show me where I made it." Denise's face tightened. "Andrew, this isn't a courtroom." "Good. Then this will be faster." I handed the first page to Patty, who was closest. "That is the Venmo request Tessa sent me for $38,000. It was labeled Temporary Family Bridge Loan with a heart emoji." Patty's eyebrows shot up despite herself. I handed another page to Uncle Ray. "Those are texts from Denise asking about Jonah's 529 plan over the last few months. At the time, I thought they were casual questions. Now I don't." Denise set her glass down. "You are twisting normal family conversations." "Maybe. That is why I brought the email." I gave a copy to Carol first. She already knew, but her jaw still tightened when she saw it printed. Then I passed copies around the room. The email says, "Once Andrew moves the college money, we can stop the cancellation." It also says Brandon couldn't know about the full business debt yet. It was sent before I ever agreed to anything, because I never agreed to anything. Brandon turned to Tessa. "Full business debt." Tessa covered her face with one hand. "Not here." "Apparently here," Carol said, her voice cold. Denise stepped forward. "This is exactly the cruelty I was afraid of. Tessa is already ashamed, and now you are humiliating her in front of everyone." "No," I said. "You organized a room full of people to pressure me. I brought proof so I didn't have to raise my voice." Dad whispered, "Andrew." I looked at him. He said nothing else. That was the moment I stopped waiting for my dad to become my father again. Tessa stood abruptly. "I knew Mom talked to people, okay? I knew she said you might help. But I didn't think it would get this bad. You sent the Venmo request." Her face flushed. "Because I was desperate. The venue was going to cancel. Brandon's family had already invited people. Do you know how humiliating that would be? Humiliation is not an invoice my son has to pay." She flinched like the sentence had landed physically. Brandon pushed his chair back. "What debt?" Tessa started crying then. Real tears this time, messy and angry. "The business failed. I was going to fix it. Mom helped me. We just needed time." Carol looked at Denise. "You let us discuss putting more money into the wedding while hiding this." Denise's polished voice finally cracked. "I was trying to protect my daughter. By spending my son," I said. The room went silent. I gathered the remaining papers and put them back in the folder. My hands were steady, which surprised me. I had imagined this moment as fire. Instead, it felt like shutting off a valve. "Jonah's college fund is not available," I said. "It never was available. It will never be discussed again." Do not contact me about money. Do not contact Jonah at all. Dad stood halfway. Can we just slow down? I looked at him one last time. You had plenty of time to slow this down. You chose silence. He sank back into the chair. I left before dessert. No one followed me to the driveway. Through the front window, I saw Denise gesturing with both hands, Tessa crying into a napkin, Brandon standing stiffly beside his mother, and Dad sitting very still in the recliner. At home, Jonah was on the couch with a cardboard takeout container balanced on his knee. That bad? He asked. I took off my jacket. Pretty bad. Did you yell? No. Did you want to? Very much. He nodded. Cool. There are noodles left. I sat beside him, and we ate lo mein out of cartons while a rerun played on TV. My phone buzzed 6 times in 10 minutes. I did not check it until Jonah went upstairs. There were messages from relatives. Patty wrote, I don't know the whole story, but I had no idea Denise told people you agreed. I am sorry for assuming. Uncle Ray sent, that was a mess. You did right protecting your boy. Cousin Lisa asked, Denise said you ambushed everyone. Is that true? Marcy texted. Funny how fast people understand boundaries once the receipts come out. That last one made me smile. I sent one written message to the group chat. For clarity, I never promised financial support for Tessa, her business debts, or her wedding. Jonah's 529 plan belongs to his education and will not be used for any other purpose. Do not contact me about money again. Do not contact Jonah about this at all. Going forward, I will communicate with Martin by email only when necessary. I wish everyone well, but I am stepping back. Then I left the group chat. I blocked Denise and Tessa. I did not block Dad. I changed his contact name from Dad to Martin and set it to email only in my own head, which sounds silly, but it mattered. The consequences were not explosive. Nobody got arrested. Nobody lost everything overnight. Real life is usually slower and more uncomfortable than that. The wedding was postponed within a week. Brandon called me once, not for gossip, just to confirm what I knew. I told him I was sorry he got dragged into it, and kept the conversation short. He sounded embarrassed and angry in the way people do when they're trying not to take it out on the wrong person. Denise's cousins stopped posting vague quotes about family loyalty. Patty sent me a Christmas card without Denise's name in the message line for the first time ever. Carol, from what Marcy heard, insisted on a full financial disclosure before any wedding planning continued. Tessa deleted her business Instagram for a while, then brought it back with the word luxury removed from the bio. Denise tried emailing me 2 times from a new address. The first said she hoped I was proud of myself for ruining a young woman's joy. The second said she was willing to forgive me if I apologized privately and helped repair the damage. I forwarded both to the folder and did not answer. Martin emailed 3 weeks later. The subject line read, checking in. Andrew, I hope you and Jonah are doing okay. This has been hard on everyone. I wish things had gone differently. Maybe after some time we can talk. I read it 2 times. There was no apology in it. Not a real one. Just fog. I replied, we are okay. Written communication is best for now. I am not discussing money, Denise, Tessa, or the meeting. If you want a relationship with Jonah in the future, you will need to start by acknowledging what happened without minimizing it. He did not respond. The first holiday after that was strange. Quiet, but not empty. Jonah and I went to Marcy's for Thanksgiving. Her dining room table was too small, so we ate with our plates close together and the cranberry sauce still in the can shape, because she said slicing it was performative. Jonah laughed more that day than he had at any holiday with Denise in years. Nobody positioned him at the edge of a photo. Marcy pulled him right into the middle and said, tall people go in back, not forgotten. In January, FAFSA stress hit our house like a weather system. Jonah and I sat at the kitchen island with tax documents, school codes, coffee for me, ginger ale for him, and a level of confusion that made both of us question the American education system. We checked the deadlines 2 times. Then 3 times. He applied for scholarships, including one from a local engineering society and another through the library where he shelved books. Sometimes I caught him looking at me when he thought I did not notice. One night he said, do you miss them? I knew who he meant. I considered lying, but he was 16, not naive. I miss who I kept hoping they would be, I said. He nodded slowly. Yeah, that makes sense. In March, Jonah got into a state university engineering program with a decent aid package. Not a miracle full ride, but enough that the 529 plan could do exactly what it was meant to do, give him choices without overwhelming debt. He read the acceptance email once silently, then again out loud, then a third time because he said the words looked fake. I stood behind him at the kitchen island, one hand on his shoulder, trying not to cry in a way that would embarrass us both. "This is what that money was for," I said. He leaned back against the counter. "Can we get cupcakes?" "Absolutely." We celebrated with grocery store cupcakes, Thai takeout, and a replacement laptop charger that did not require electrical negotiation. Marcy came over with a card that had $20 inside and wrote, "For dorm snacks or emergency pizza, not weddings." Jonah laughed so hard he had to sit down. A few months later, Martin sent another email. This one was longer. He said he was sorry for not stopping Denise, sorry for letting me be made responsible for problems I did not create, and sorry for forgetting that Jonah was a child in the middle of adults trying to save face. It was the closest thing to honest I had heard from him in years. I did not rush to forgive him. I wrote back 2 days later and thanked him for saying it. I told him rebuilding trust would be slow and would not include Denise or Tessa. He replied that he understood. Maybe he did. Maybe he only understood what distance felt like. Either way, I did not move the boundary. That summer, Jonah and I drove out to tour the campus. It was humid, and the admissions guide walked backward with terrifying confidence. Jonah asked about labs, freshman housing, and whether students could join the robotics team without being engineering majors. I watched him stand a little taller with every answer. On the drive home, he fell asleep against the passenger window like he used to when he was little. At a red light, my phone buzzed. An email from Martin. I let it sit unread. For a long time, I thought peace meant getting everyone around the same table and convincing them to treat me like I belonged. I spent years paying dues to a family that never really let me in, with time, favors, patience, and silence. When I stopped paying, the table did not collapse. It just became clear who had been eating there for free. Jonah kept his future. I kept my word to him. Denise kept her image with fewer people than before. Tessa had to explain her own debts to the man she planned to marry. Martin had to live with the quiet he chose. As for me, I stopped checking my phone during holidays, waiting for the next guilt trip or the next test of loyalty. I spent more Sundays with Marcy, more weeknights helping Jonah compare dorm checklists, and more mornings drinking coffee in a kitchen that did not require me to prove I deserved a place in it. I did not lose a family. I stopped funding the illusion of one. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.